Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details. With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to the Wrap Podcast, the place to catch up on all the regional and national rugby in Wales. You can find us on all the usual social media platforms and message us through there if you want, or you can email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. So all the boring stuff out the way, let's talk rugby. Hello and welcome to a special edition of this week's Wrap Podcast with me, Lee G. Joining me as always is Reece and Jamie. Good afternoon, gents. How are we?
Hiya, how are you doing?
Afternoon. All good, thank you.
Yeah, it's weird this, isn't it? Afternoon. That's like, you know, we could do this every week. Don't tell the wife, but this could be a normal thing on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not overly keen, are we?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Joining us this week in preparation for the Battle of the Basement next weekend, Wales versus Italy, is I got to get the name right on this. Marcello is fine. Is it Cossali or do we just go with Francis? How do we pronounce it, mate?
Well, it's Marcello Cossali-Francis.
See, that was close. I think I was quite close there. I think I was all right. It's closer than I usually am with Welsh names, to be honest. How are we doing, mate?
You got it. Yeah, good. You've always got to get both names in there because otherwise the Welsh father isn't happy if Francis is out. The Italian mother's not happy if I leave the Cossali out. So, gotta be perfect.
So does it depend on like who you commentated on or who you reported on as to which one you emphasise? If it's Italian rugby or Welsh rugby?
Yeah, well, it's a constant battle. This is normally this is the worst weekend for me, really, when Wales and Italy play against each other, especially given that most of the time in the past it's been kind of Italy would just be preventing Wales from winning it or winning a slam or whatever. But now it's a case of whoever loses is probably getting the wooden spoon, aren't they? So yeah, it's not. The prospects aren't great. I mean, definitely not great for Wales in particular. But, hopefully, Italy will be progressing from wooden spoon races.
I think that's it, isn't it, with Italy? I mean, we were saying just before you came on about like Warburton's comments a couple of years ago, saying Italy shouldn't be in the Six Nations, and now very much eating his words. What you put it down to? Where did things turn round and how?
Right, it's a great question, and people will obviously look at Warburton's comments and think, "Oh, eating your words now." But at the same time, I mean, it's not like he was the only one, was it?
No, he wasn't. In fairness,
you had most people. I mean, we're not going to sit here and suggest that anyone was being disrespectful, really, given that we hadn't won a game in 7 years. So it's not stupid to suggest that our place wasn't at least in kind of being debated, or that I mean, I've always been the idea, not so much now, but the idea of a playoff with a team that wins obviously Georgia, winning the competition below has always been something that I'm quite happy to do. We've not, ultimately it was getting to a point where we just wanted to see Italy win a game of rugby. So if that came every year from just the one playoff, then great. But, so it's not like I don't think many people have got too many issues with what Warburton said, because first and foremost, whenever Warburton opens his mouth, the majority of the time I agree with what he said anyway. He's a very intelligent man, and his punditry is brilliant. So it's no ill feeling there really, but obviously it would be quite nice for an Italy win at the weekend and just be like, well, there you go. Maybe Wales should be replaced instead of Italy.
Oh, you know it's coming.
The way things are going,
Kick Wales out.
Yeah.
That'll be next.
In terms of how it's happened, I think it's been bubbling under really with the age groups really, because the under-18s and the under-20s have for quite a few years really been progressing quite nicely and picking up wins. And the under-20s are kind of consistently beating at least Wales and Scotland in the competition in the last few years. So it's been kind of the last few years it's been bubbling over, and it's just been a case of trying to ensure that the players that are impressing in there are kind of progressing through and into the senior team, and also kind of Benetton, another big win for them yesterday. They don't win many games away from home. The Ospreys. So yeah, it's a mixture of those couple of things, but it's certainly wouldn't say it's come out of the blue because it wasn't towards the end of the Six Nations last year. We were still really in the same position. People saying, well, Italy still really aren't competing and not particularly playing great rugby. And then it kind of switched last season of competition. It almost coincided with Ange Capuozzo, really. He came on and started and scored a couple of tries against Scotland at the end of the game to make the scoreline look relatively reasonable, and then obviously doing what he did in Cardiff. So it's kind of really coincided with that, but it's definitely been helped by the under-20s and the under-18s players starting to come through the system.
And you have developed some really good world-class players at the moment, isn't it? And depth as well. Just thinking like the outside half, Tommaso Allen and Gabisi, so two guys that can come on and do a job for Italy.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the conversations we're now having is there are these Italian players who, let's not forget, we could have beaten Ireland. I mean, it was a slightly weakened Ireland side, maybe that could be argued, and they've made a couple of changes, but it doesn't matter. I think we should have beaten France in round one, should have beaten them, and then pushed Ireland all the way and could have won that as well. So there's obviously development, but there are certain players within that side that are now people are looking at and going, these are serious players. They're not just kind of punching above their weight. These are seriously good players, and you've named a few there. And we've potentially got fly half has been a problem for us for years and years and years, pretty much since Dominguez and Pez back in kind of early 2000s, really. And then we've kind of struggled ever since. And now you've got two 10s that you could arguably are up there as some of the best in Europe, and Tommy Allen coming off the bench or Garbisi coming off the bench. I mean, these are two players playing in the top leagues in the world. So, but then you've got players like Canone, who's really, really probably been Italy's best player this tournament so far. I mean, he's just been phenomenal, and he was brilliant against Ireland. And obviously Capuozzo, we hope his competition isn't over. But then Ignacio Brex, who another unsung hero really, and Pierre Bruno, who looks really good, and Garbisi coming off, and then Riccioni and Fischetti in the front row as well. So you've got players that are genuinely being talked about in this world-class bracket. I don't think they're there yet, but I mean, these are really young boys that are still got so much potential, and I think that's what's really exciting at the moment.
And you have got a really good man in charge. Sorry, I just about to say, you've got a really good man in charge as well, Kieran Crowley. I really rate Kieran Crowley as a coach. He did good work at Benetton, and he seems to be doing very good work in Italy as well. Do you think he's the right man to take Italian rugby forward?
Absolutely. Look, I think it's been a problem we've had in the Six Nations, generally speaking, throughout our time in there. It's that we've had a lot of coaches that haven't been given the time to try and progress things. But Kieran Crowley, like you said, being involved at Benetton, he's kind of carried that through. He's been involved with Italian rugby for quite some time, and he's obviously been able to develop an understanding of what works and what doesn't, and an understanding of the players that are available to him. And obviously now it's starting to bear fruit. And I think, keeping him on is something that needs to be really kind of at the fore. If we want to be a team, all the best teams in Six Nations history have had a point of, having coaches that are given time. I mean, you just look at Wales really with Warren Gatland. I mean, he was there for such a long time and done such a good job, and that's what you're kind of aiming for. You want to have consistency on the pitch just as well as you do off it. So, having him involved it is obviously massive.
Yeah.
So, what's the structure of like Italian rugby below like the professional level? Because we know a lot about. Well, we're having to research and understand a lot more now, because a lot of people in Wales are going, "Oh, crikey, this is a serious threat now." So, but what's it like below pro level? We don't really know much. It's been talked about in Wales for years about, have we got the right structure and what have you. How does the structure in Italy work to feed those players up to that top level?
Well, it's difficult. I pretend to know, loads and loads about the league, the Baroni League, the Italian division. It's if you look at the under-20 group, a lot of them play in those teams. A lot of them are basically kind of feeders into Benetton and Zebra respectively, and I think that's where Italian rugby still sort of developing. Obviously, that league is the standard is far below probably what it's like elsewhere, just in terms of the English league system goes incredibly deep, and in Ireland as well, and we've got the league below is one that's probably still needs a lot of level, because Italy is still, despite what they're doing at the moment, they're still a developing nation in rugby, generally speaking. There's not been a country that's played rugby for a long time. It's something, within the school systems, rugby's still very much something that's not really heard of in school level. So that's where it needs to continue to try and develop. And obviously, the more money that's pumped into it, the more it can be used in those leagues down below. But it's certainly something that's kind of still developing, and it's still one that's not particularly well known. But having looked at the under-20s and some of the players that are coming through that are playing in those sides, that there's obviously the player pool there. It's just about how you try and almost squeeze those players into Benetton and Zebra to making sure they're playing kind of that better level. I think is probably the case. And obviously, when it's just two sides, it can be quite difficult. But then flip it over when it comes to internationals. Obviously, a lot of them go from Benetton, and Benetton have to they get a chance to play those younger boys. So that's where it still needs to try and develop, because I think Italy's quite a good example, really, of you can have your star player playing outside of Italy. It doesn't matter. I don't think there's like a massive emphasis on everyone has to stay here, which obviously is a very topical discussion over with you boys at the moment. But it's a case of Italy have a lot of top players playing outside, playing in France, playing over in the Premiership, and that's helping us. It's not affecting the senior team. It's not making us any worse, is it? So, and then obviously the good thing about that is that if those players are playing outside of Italy, and there's not that you have to stay here to play, then it offers more chance for those younger players to actually get into the side and play rugby in the URC, which is obviously what we want, because if you're going to develop players, they have to be playing at the top level, playing against sides like Leinster and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of work to be done, but it's a case with everything. If you start winning, that's when people start taking you more seriously, and that can filter through every aspect of it in rugby. So there's still a lot to do in Italian rugby, but it's certainly going.
Absolutely.
So how difficult is it for someone like Stephen Varney, who so you'll understand the position that Stephen Varney is in, born and bred Welsh. He's a Welsh speaker. Now, I think his dad played for Wales as well, but he's obviously, I think his grandfather is proper Italian. I think his grandfather's been in Wales for like 50, 60 odd years, and he's still got a really strong Italian accent sort of a thing. How difficult is it for someone like Varney to play for Italy, particularly against Wales, do you think?
I mean, I liken it to myself and my brother. Really, I mean, we'd be in the same position where we could be playing for either, and I think I'd be, me personally, if I was representing Wales or Italy, I'd be incredibly proud, and it'd be something that I'd dreamed of. I mean, that up for either. So I think if it came to a game situation, if I was representing one and playing against the other, I think it'd be probably one of those I quite relish. Really, I don't think I'd see it as something that was difficult or hard to kind of do. I'd be like, well, I'm on a pitch with people that I'd like to kind of liken to myself, really. So I don't think it's a difficult one for Stephen Varney. I mean, ultimately, at the time he was kind of progressing and coming through with Wales and the kind of quality of nines that Wales have produced throughout history almost, that probably thought, well, I've got more of a chance of playing international rugby. And I think for a lot of players, especially nowadays, playing international rugby is huge. So if there's a chance to do it going through a slightly different route, then I think players are going to want to do it. So I don't think Stephen Varney will be looking at this and thinking that it's a difficult one. I think it's probably one that he quite relishes, and I'm certainly hoping it's one he relishes, to be honest. And after a much better performance against Ireland, I'm hoping that he can kind of continue and do well again against Wales, because it's been a mixed tournament for him so far, and I think that goes along with his kind of early Italian career to date. But I don't think anyone puts on a national shirt and thinks anything other than I want to win. So I don't think that Stephen, once he gets on the pitch, that it's going to be something that is going to be too hard for him. Obviously, within the family, it's probably a good one as well. I just don't see it as being anything negative. It's all something very positive. But that's just me kind of thinking it from my own angle as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. I could do with him having an off day, to be honest. I could do with his family.
You can see it coming as well, isn't it? Like, I was watching. I've been watching Italy throughout this tournament, and just like the defence is so well drilled as well now, and I can't see with the current Welsh attack or lack of it, how we're going to break down that Italian defence.
I think I've got my own Italian Twitter account, and I think I said something on there that some people might have misconstrued as cocky or arrogant in any way. But my point was that having seen what Italy can do in attack, and having seen what they've done against teams like France and Ireland, I just can see Italy scoring tries at will against this Welsh side that have leaked points, and it's a case of once teams get in the danger zone, Wales aren't keeping teams out, and the attacking quality that we possess and the kind of expansive game we're playing. I'm not saying that it will happen, because I think the interesting thing here is that Italy are probably at home playing for the first time in maybe ever, of having a little bit of pressure in terms of people are actually expecting Italy to win, and I think that is going to be very different mentality for our players to be playing with, because they probably haven't ever done that in a blue shirt. So that is something that is going to impact us slightly, and I think that is something they're going to have to deal with and contend with, and it's probably in the build up to the game going to maybe cause a little bit of anxiety there, I think, potentially. But on the face of it, and looking at what's happened so far in this tournament, if I was Italy and I was the attacking coaches and the way that they're playing, I'd be saying, let's do exactly what we've done so far. And if we do it, it could be a really long day for Wales. I genuinely think that.
Yeah,
I think so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Italy's attack is much better than Wales right now. I can tell you that now, because when I watch Italy, you know what they're trying to do. You can see the brand of rugby they're trying to play. Whereas when you look at Wales, and this was going on when Stephen Jones was attack coach, I don't know what the game plan is. I don't know what we're trying to do in attack. And I've said this for so long. And, I know Alex King's only been there a little while, and it will take time for him to implement that blueprint on our attack. But right now you've got to say Italy are the favourites, and I think they're very dangerous at the moment. This is a big banana skin for Wales. It really is. It's a massive game for both teams, isn't it?
It is. It's a huge game. I think the way I look at it, if I try and look at it kind of objectively, I think Wales going to have to try and play the same way that Italy do, and that's how I think they. That's how I think they have to. I think there has to almost be a little bit of a. We're going to have to release the shackles here. I mean, we have to potentially face the fact that I think Italy could win this, by in a 10-try thriller way. Italy score 6 and Wales score 4 type thing. I think that's the only way that Wales can try. Because if they play the way they have and they play this kind of really tight, boring game plan, if we're being brutally honest, that shows so little in attack. And I think Wales has tried so far, in terms of points scored, what is it? Is it about 30 points? I think Wales have scored across the tournament so far, and a couple of those tries have been, one of them's an interception, and it's just like just living off scraps. And Wales have the ability to cause teams problems. I mean, they've got players in wide positions in Josh Adams and Louis Rees-Zammit to hurt size. And I think if Wales want to try and match Italy, they're going to have to try and play the same way, which is, on the face of it, looks very difficult because they've not been able to do it. But that's the way I see Wales coming out of this positively, is if they try and match Italy and try and play the same way. So I think got all the potential really to be a really good game. But yeah, I think it's a massive one for both sides. Obviously, Italy are still only one win in 8 years, so it's not like we've turned a corner in terms of results. Let's be honest. So.
But the performances are improving. We talk about results. We've got to look at the performances. They are improving. They are far more competitive. In the past, Italy would put in a 50, 60-minute performance, then they'd fall away badly. That's not happening anymore. They look fitter. They look well drilled. And, they are really improving. Italy are a good team. They're a good team.
Yeah, I think we've created this. I mean, people are looking at it and thinking, well, this is a serious team to be taken very seriously, and we're playing.
Yeah.
It's the performances that are the best thing. I mean, I'm actually watching, and when I watch rugby, and especially international rugby, look, I know it's a results business, at club level. But when it comes to internationals, I want to see my team winning, but I also want to watch my team playing good rugby. And I sit and watch Italy, and I really enjoy myself watching them. And then I sit and watch Wales with Dad. And it's depressing.
Chalk and cheese, isn't it?
It's depressing. It's totally depressing, and so that's me. The big thing is that Italy are playing a brand of rugby that is really, really exciting, and I think nowadays that's what wins rugby matches, is playing this brand of rugby. You're seeing it with Ireland and France. That's how you win now. You play this kind of rugby. Just playing kind of boring, structured rugby doesn't win rugby matches anymore, I don't think. So I think that's the key, and I think it's. But still, we need to turn. We need to be winning this on Saturday. I think it's not a case of performance. I think actually for the first time, it's actually we want to win the game, and if we do win 9-6, then we win 9-6. That's what we want to do. We want to turn. We want to start winning games and putting points on the board. So. That's the key for us this weekend. We want to see a win first and foremost, and if it comes whilst playing the brand of rugby that we've played so far this tournament, then great. But yeah, it's a nervous one because we're anxious about it, and we actually think we can win it, which is potentially could look back at it. And why did we say that?
You want to try being a Dragons fan? Jamie goes through that every week. Every time that we say the Dragons stand a chance of winning, Jamie gets nervous. So that's a Jamie. Jamie's affinity with Italy is not like in there being in the ascendancy. But so
he's bringing my Dragons into this now. It's been a tough weekend, another tough weekend.
You're sure that into anything.
I just want to focus on the Six Nations. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
One thing I'll say about the skill levels, you got those. We're talking about the players that you got coming through, but also the skill levels of them from 1 to 15 on the park. Like some of the passing has been like sublime to get the ball into space from backs and forwards, and it's we talk about just the players like the Capozzo and what have you, but just the skill levels of all the Italian players seems to have gone up exponentially as well.
It is, and I think if you look at the best teams in the world now, 1 to 15 have got handling skills. It's not a case of, and I think that is what when I watched Wales, I think that the forwards, there is a distinct lack of skill, not just in terms of, I watched the other teams play, and you've got, so for Italy, for example, we've got Danilo Fischetti, who is who is obviously a prop, but he's quick, he's agile, and a lot of these forwards, especially when we're trying to play an expansive game, is that we've got these players who are sitting in those 10 positions and actually playing the Ireland way, which is kind of the carry runner, passing behind and the wrap moves, and everyone on the pitch is doing that for us. And we've got Rutzer and Cannon in the second row. We've got Cannon at 8 as well. We've got Seven Egri. We've got Lamaro. These are all players who can play with the ball, and they've got the ability to pass and go. And I think that's something that's really progressed. And if you look at the best teams in the world, like Ireland and France, New Zealand, 1 to 15 can play, and that's what you have to do nowadays. The skill level is, it has to be up there. Otherwise, you just cannot play this type of game. So that's something that's really impressed us, and it's not come out of the blue, but it's been a very quick, in terms of going from last season, starting the Six Nations, thinking here we go again, to finishing it really well, and now we're into playing really, really good rugby all at the same time. So it's kind of happened really quite quickly, but yeah, it's an incredibly exciting team to watch at the moment.
And I think you can see that in the players' faces, though, can't you? When you watch Italy play, there's a togetherness, there's a smile on the face, and even when something doesn't come off, but maybe the last pass goes down or something, there's a nobody's standing. We're not doing that bigger thing of standing there and shouting at Dyer because he gave him a pass he wasn't expecting. Do you know what I mean? There's a real togetherness in the Italian side, and they're enjoying playing the game. They're enjoying playing it together. I think people underestimate it, but you can definitely see it in the Italian side that they enjoy playing together.
Well, that's what we've seen, is that there is this absolute fearlessness that no one is worried about what's going to happen. I think it's clearly been something that's been really hammered home, kind of in training and by the coaches, is we want you boys to go out there and express yourselves. We want you to go and play, and we're seeing that even in the first week against France, playing from our own 22 against, at the time, favourites for the World Cup. We're then playing against Ireland in the second half at crunch time, and we're running it from our own line. And it's just like there's just this emphasis on, you boys can just do what you want. We want you to play this way. We don't want you to stop. We don't want you to have to try and adapt. This is the way we want to play rugby, and we want you to just keep doing it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and that's fine, and we'll deal with it afterwards. But that definitely seems to be, these players have been told that. And I think you obviously look at the age of the group, and it's a very young team. It's a young captain. These boys are just fearless, and you can tell. And I think if you're playing rugby like the way they are, it's hard not to enjoy it, because if we're sitting back and watching it and enjoying it from our armchairs, then the boys that are playing it on the pitch must be loving it too. And I think if they're going into training every week, and the coaching team is saying, we just want you boys to play it. And as a rugby player, I can't imagine there's anything better than being told, just go and play rugby the way you want to play it, not this formulaic nonsense that's boring and laborious and that no one wants to watch or play. So yeah, that's a massive thing about this side. It's young, it's fearless, full of energy, and yeah, long may it continue.
And it's just typified by my favourite post-match interview for years. I can't remember what Italian play was, but he says, we've been eating shit for years and now we're coming for you. And I just thought that was I
think that was Lamaro. I think that was Lamaro. I think he said that after one of the games.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I assume so. I assume it was him. He does the pre-match because he speaks very good English. I think that's the only choose.
But you couldn't get two more different, like in terms of the feeling in camp, you couldn't get two more different teams right now. With all the stuff that the Welsh players have been through the last couple of weeks, it's like wading through treacle, and Italy are dancing on feathers. Do you know what I mean? So the feeling from the minute they walk on the pitch, I mean, Wales have got such a massive job to do mentally, the way they approach that game on Saturday mentally, whereas, like you say, the Italian team are just kind of free. It is like they're just free. Just go and play, boys. Just go and enjoy it. And the pressure on the yourself, the pressure on the Welsh side, even on the best of times when we're on top of the world, when we were world number one a couple of years ago, even then the pressure on the side was immense. So I think just the way. It'd be interesting to see how both sides respond to that pressure this weekend. because it'll be massive.
Yeah,
I think as well, like Wales will they go in not to lose, if you see what I mean, like, isn't it? You know, that's at the back of their mind, isn't it? That this could be the banana skin, the one, and then a defeat away to Italy will mean the wooden spoon, isn't it? So well, I think Italy will just go to play rugby, as you were saying, Marcello. Wales are going not to lose, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, look, I think there is pressure on both teams for this, from what we said before already, and there's different versions of pressure, so to speak. Obviously, so a bit of backstory about me. I think my godfather's brother is Paul Thorburn, so Chinko Thorbur's my godfather and Paul. So I know all about the pressure in terms of the press and what he had to deal with when he was captain of Wales, and obviously being in the press myself, I know the kind of the pressure that we can create, whether we do it intentionally or not. But Wales as a rugby nation will always have that pressure. That is never, ever, ever going to go. And if it did go, then that's when you probably need to worry, because rugby is religion, isn't it? So for that reason, there's that pressure. But I was listening to the Five Live Rugby Union Weekly podcast, which Sam Walton was on. Said I thought was really, look. I think if Wales go there to try not to lose and go there nervous and anxious and worrying about it, they're going to get hammered. There's a potential there for Wales to get hammered. I think what he said was, in terms of, there's about 8 games now till a potential World Cup quarterfinal, and he said that's what we should obviously be working towards from a Welsh angle, and giving some youngsters the time now is what you need to do, because the young guys are the ones that don't have all the baggage of the pressure, all of everything that's going on that they're having to deal with. If you can give the young guys time on the pitch now, they're the ones that are going to have a little less fear and are willing to play a little bit more open. And I think that what Italy have managed to gain now is respect. And I don't think Wales should be going there worrying about being embarrassed by Italy in any way, because if Italy beat Wales, I don't think there's anything embarrassing about it. I think the way in which they approach the game will be what will be potentially embarrassing. I think if Wales go there and try not to lose, that will equally be more embarrassing, really. I think what Wales have to do is just kind of drop this suggestion that if we lose, it's the end of the world, because ultimately what Sam said was, we're either going to win 1 game or win 0 games. It's not going to be a successful campaign either way. So let's just kind of drop this fear. Let's try and play without it. Let's think about what's coming ahead later this year. Let's start building towards it now, and let's give players like Hawkins and Centers and Christians and David Jenkins, let's give these boys time now, because they're not the ones that have kind of had all this baggage in the last couple of years, particularly. So I think that's the way Wales have to approach it. But like you said, the pressure is also on Italy there, because there's expectation now, and we've not had that before. So seeing how we deal with that will be interesting. Will we revert to some different tactics? I can't see it, because I don't think this team have any other way of playing. I don't think they know any other way. So I don't think there'll be much change from us. I think we'll go and try and play the game the exact same way. Will there be a few more errors potentially, because we've got that little bit of kind of pressure on us? Maybe that's something. But obviously both teams there will be lots at stake for both teams, because naturally the press reaction to a Wales loss in Rome would be as you'd expect it to be anyway. Yeah. So it's kind of, I think Wales I think what Warburton said was, damned if they do and damned if they don't. It's a lose-lose potentially. So if they go there trying to play, give some youngsters a go, I think at least the Welsh public potentially will look at that and think, well, at least we're seeing boys having a go, and let's not go there and play the old guard as such. Let's try and rip up the playbook, really, and let's just give it a go. And if we lose, we lose.
Can you imagine what the reaction is going to be on Twitter? Because I know you're quite frequent on Twitter. If Wales win the wooden spoon and they lose to Italy, Twitter's going to lose his shit. The Welsh media's going to lose his shit. And there's a lot of doom and gloom in Wales at the moment. And when you think about all the fanfare and the positivity that was greeted by Gatland's return, for him to come back and deliver a wooden spoon, I mean, that would be disastrous. It really would. It would just add further to the gloom and misery of Welsh rugby. It's a huge game for Wales. It really is.
Yeah, it is. It is, but I think if if Pivac was still there, I don't think that would necessarily change the women's experience. But I think Gatland's in a tricky spot really, because he was kind of thrust into it with not a fat lot to work with. Let's be honest. But yeah, it is a huge game for sure. And I think in my head, it might be a little bit different. But if Wales go there and score 5 tries and lose 40-38 and play great rugby, and a load of the youngsters give it a go and they produce some really good stuff, I think people potentially might feel like, well, yes, we've lost in Rome, but we played some good stuff and we haven't done any of that. I mean, when you watch rugby, at the very least, you want to be entertained. I'd rather lose games and watch my team playing good rugby, even if we're losing. I'd rather see us playing rugby. And if Wales at the moment are playing turgid rugby and losing, so it's like let's just throw caution to the wind and just play. I think that's how I would see it. And I think if that's the case, then it could be an absolutely incredible game of rugby potentially.
Yeah, agreed.
So what I'm taking from that is our best option this week is to just spend a week bigging up Italy, saying how fantastic it really put the pressure on the Italian side, completely ignore everything in the Welsh camp and just put all of that expectation on Italy. I think that's a good tactic for the week. I think that might be the way forward.
Yeah, that's it. Do some Eddie Jones mind games in the build-up.
Yeah.
So let's talk specifically about that game on Saturday. So what exactly, from an Italian point of view, what would be a good score? What would be a great score? And what kind of game are you expecting on Saturday?
See, and what I would liken this to would be when Italy played Wales in the Autumn Nations series, when it was, I think, the first year of that tournament. If it's a tournament, I'm not really sure what it is, but I think it was in COVID times when there was no fans around. And I think Italy played Wales in like a playoff or some sort. I think it was like a 6th play. I don't know what it was, but they played.
The Parker Scarlets, wasn't there? Was there the one of Parker Scarlets?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And that was,
I know what you mean.
And that was kind of a game that we went into and we thought, I think we were playing decent enough stuff at the time, and Wales was still in a difficult position too. And I think we went into that thinking, we could do something there. And I think what we got from that was, we got caught out a few times. We scored a few tries. We played some good stuff at times. We got caught out a couple of times. And I think we have to be realistic in the fact that we're still developing as a team, and we want to continue that. What we have to do is continue to progress. So we have to keep playing the way we are and keep getting better each week. And obviously playing the way we are, it'd be easy to sit here and say a good score for us is. I've got to be realistic in the sense that we've only won one game in 8 years, so that we should be thinking, if we win, that's great. But for me, I want to see us. What I think would be good is winning and winning well. I think we've got the actual capability to win well. Whether we do or not is another matter. But I think on paper we have the ability to win well. Winning with a bonus point, I think, is what the conversations I've had with other Italian rugby guys, is that a bonus point win is what we're actually should be our target. I think, being realistic. But then you do have to factor in the fact, we don't win a lot of rugby games still. So the general feeling is that within the camp that we still want to just build wins. I think wins is progression. I think we obviously don't want to lose the game either. So it's difficult because I'm trying to stay grounded and not get too high, because there's always the potential to get caught out maybe. But yeah, I think we're all looking at this and licking our lips a little bit, just purely because where the Wales are.
Well, can I just say, the more Marcello is talking a bit, the more nervous I'm getting. I feel really fucking nervous right now. I've not got a good feeling about this. I really haven't.
But that is the way we're feeling. I think we are thinking. I turned around to Dad.
Rightly so.
I said that there is every. I mean, the way we're playing, we're scoring tries, playing expansive rugby. I can just, if Wales get too narrow, or they kick loosely, or Italy get a chance to counter attack, and we're playing with this quick tempo, I genuinely can see us winning with a bonus point. And I don't think Italy have. I don't think it's fair. It's unfair to say I don't think there's anything to worry about. Maybe.
Oh, confidence is up now, isn't it?
I think Louis Rees-Zammit and what he can do with the ball. I mean, that Wales still have those kind of individuals that are capable of moments of brilliance, and I think that's obviously something you have to factor. So I think what's been our downside has been the way we kick the ball from defence, the way we exit, and there's always the way we play it like that. There's always the chance you can get caught out, and I think even if Wales are in this difficult position, they're still able to potentially, make the most of that. And I think with the attackers they have, they still got lots of quality. Let's not pretend that there's absolutely zero quality in this Welsh side. There's still quality in it, so we have to be wary of that. But I think when we look at it, I don't think there's anything that we should be really fearful of. So I think in that regard, we should be really confident of putting in a really good performance. And I think we have to play with that confidence and almost play with a bit of arrogance, because I think if we do that, we can get plenty of reward, I think. And but yeah, it might come all back to bite me. It might all come back to bite me, and I look like a right idiot. But
we'll contact you.
The question I was going to ask was, because we don't know what's happening with Coates at the minute, do we? First he was ruled out, then he wasn't. He's in the squad. If he is ruled out for this game, do you still believe it? He can win without him, because he is a key player. But you have obviously got quality throughout that squad. But it seems as though it sounds like you do think that he'll win quite comfortably.
He is. I think who we'd play at 15 is still a little bit of it's still a position where without Capuozzo, I'm not sure we've got a whole lot of strength and depth. I think.
Okay.
If you've watched any of the under-20s, Carlo May, who plays 15 for the Italians, would potentially be, third in line, maybe, if that was to happen. So that shows you where our strength and depth is in that position. I think Padovani would probably come in and play 15, is what I'd imagine would happen. But there's also they could also play Tommy Allen at 15, because he's played there a few times for Quins this season. So that obviously removing someone like Capuozzo, who was Young Player of the Year. I mean, if you're taking a player like that out of your team, you're obviously going to start the weekend. And I think in every game we've played so far this tournament, he's had moments, and he is one of those players that is capable of just doing anything. And the way that he kind of epitomises that fearless nature whenever he catches the ball. A lot of 15s in this day and age will look to kick. Let's kick high, let's compete in the air. He is, I'm going to keep the ball, and I'm going to run all that way sideways, and then I'm going to cut back in, sidestep you, put you on your butt, and I'm going to score under the posts. That's exactly the way he thinks, I think, when he gets the ball. So if you remove that, I think we're obviously going to be slightly weakened in an attacking sense. But am I confident still of winning, even if he's not there? Yes. I've still got a belief in this side that we've got the ability to win this game still without him. But obviously, I do think if he can play and we can. He can be involved in that game, obviously I'll feel more confident. So removing him does weaken us slightly. So that would be a blow, and I think it'd be just a blow for everyone generally, just because he's been so fantastic.
Agree. I love watching him. I hope he's not ruled out of the Six Nations as a whole, personally, because I think he's a fantastic player. But I think
we've got to think about the World Cup later this year. Really, I think if he's got an injury there that we need to think of the bigger picture. Obviously, our World Cup group is a little bit tricky, to say the least. So
absolutely, I think he needs a week off.
Exactly. So
he needs time to recover. Rest him up. Wrap him in bandages for a couple of weeks, because
it would, and I don't think it would be. I mean, obviously, it would be disappointing for the game and for us to not have him. But I think if there's any sort of caution to be had with him, I think that's absolutely what we should be doing, really, when we think about it. So we'll have to see. I mean, the fact that he's not been ruled out, but he was said that he's got an injury and he would be missing, and then he's kind of been kept in the squad, tells me that if he plays, maybe he's not full fitness anyway. It's one of those where we'll have to see. I'd like to think that if he's anything less than 100%, then we'd probably have to think a little bit about what we've got coming up to kind of save, especially with one game still to play. So we've still got. If there's a chance that he can play next week at full fitness in 2 weeks' time, I'd rather do that. You know what I mean? So we'll have to see.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Yeah.
So, is there anything in the Welsh side? Obviously, you said Zammit and wingers and probably back three. But is there anything in the Welsh side that you look at and you think that's a danger that sides are going to struggle to deal with, even if it's not now, like going forward, something like Shunza or something like that? Is it?
So think it all depends on which way Wales go with this, really. If they go with what they did in round one and what they did last week, I'm pretty sure, in terms of going back to a lot of the old guards. So if they decide to go with players like Alan Wynne-Jones, the back row of Faletau and Tipperick, and players like Dan Bigger as well, and George North, for example. If they go back to these players, then I don't think personally, if I was thinking about it from a Welsh point of view, that's the way to go. So if they go with the likes of, I mean, there's Tommy Raffel on the bench, who's arguably one of the best flankers in the Premiership.
Yeah. He used to start though. He used to start for Wales.
He is a fan. If he plays and players like Christians and David Jenkins play, and they're the boys that I would look at and be like, well, if they do play, then we have got something to worry about, because I think they are the boys that have got the potential. I think obviously the fly off one's a difficult one really for Wales, because you kind of look at it on the face of it and think, well, what options do you really have? I'm not sure if Owen Williams that I like as a bloke, and I think he's a good 10. Is he an international 10? I'd have my reservations slightly, and obviously then you're just left with Dan really, and Dan is someone that can always be relied on. Whether he can play the kind of rugby that is going to test Italy is another question again. So I think what will be difficult is knowing what team Wales going to go with, and how early do they release that team. That's something that could also come into play. I would say it depends which way Wales go as to how and where I feel the threats are, and I think that kind of second row, back row could be a really dangerous position as far as we're concerned, given the sort of players that Wales have at their disposal. So it will be very much interesting to see where they go really with that, because one way I'm worried and concerned. If they go the other way with the old guard, I'd be far more confident.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the midfield. You mentioned like George North and stuff like that. And George North is not doing the job, I said on the pod before, that he's been put in the centre to do. So I would like to see Joe Hawkins continue with Mason Grady. And I think that when that beds down, I think that'll be a very potent attacking threat.
It's the future, isn't it? That is the future for Wales.
And it has to be. And I think if you think of it from a Welsh angle, I just think you have to be looking at these games now, these last two games, and then the summer, and then the warm-ups. Got to be looking at you've got those games now to give these boys some time together, because it's all well and good throwing them in for a cap, but if you're just going to remove them the next week, then what's the point in putting them there in the first place? They were there against England, and I think it would be daft to just remove that centre pairing, because they're going to need some time, and it's not like anything before them's worked anyway, so may as well give them this chance. I mean, that's what I think. I just think Wales shouldn't be. I mean, obviously everyone outside them will lose their marbles, but I think there's a squad within the camp. It should be a case of, look, boys, let's just try these things. Let's try it, and let's go there without that fear of losing. If we lose, we lose. It's not. No one's dying here. You know what I mean. It's just that there's a bigger picture in play. There's a bigger picture of a World Cup in a few months' time, so there should be all geared towards what are we going to blood into that competition. So, yeah, like I said, I'd be happier playing a team with Alan Wynne-Jones, Faletau, Tipperick, Dan Bigger, George North than I would be playing a team of Shinzer, Jenkins, Tommy Raffel, Owen Williams potentially, and players like Mason Grady and Hawkins. That's what I think that's how we would generally all think, because there's also that element of unknown. Like, these boys have played so little rugby, we don't know a lot about them. It's the case of, we're not really too sure how to play against this. And that Italian midfield is one that it's strong. It's defensively strong, and Wales need to have something to kind of oppose that. So that's how I would think about it.
Interesting. We shall see.
Yeah, let's wrap up a little bit about the weekend then. So, what's your prediction for this weekend then? What's a score prediction? We're all going to clear our ears.
Clear that out.
Oh, God, what's your score prediction?
I'm expecting Wales to be maybe the best they've been at this tournament so far this weekend. again, very much dependent on which way they go. So I'm gonna, without knowing any team news or anything like that, and have to factor that in slightly. So my prediction, I do think Italy will win. I think it might be a bit closer than what we'd want it to be. So I'm going to go 28-20, Italy and Rome.
20.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, none of us went, yeah, a load of shit.
Yeah. We're all just nodding.
We all went, yeah, you're probably right on that one, fella. That's how crap this season has been for Wales. But so let's talk about how crap the Welsh season has been. So you did a lot of reporting on the situation at Worcester and everything that happened there. Do you see similarities between Worcester and Wasps and what's happening with Welsh regional rugby at the minute?
I guess so. Yeah, I think that the what you could look at is the sense that being Worcester and Wasps, Worcester, I can't speak too much about Wasps really. I don't know as much, but obviously Worcester been badly run, and I think there's the obvious comparisons with the WRU and being badly run, and rugby in Wales. Look, I'd love to say I know lots about it, but it's a very complex and something that's been such a problem for such a long time that I won't offend anyone by trying to get too involved with it. But I know for a fact that it's clearly not being run how it should be, and it's clearly not working whatever's happening. And so with that in mind, then there needs to be drastic changes, and then it just doesn't. Rugby as a sport doesn't make money, and that's been apparent in the Premiership with pretty much all bar two even cutting their losses in terms of Premiership clubs. So if that's happening in the top flight of England, then you dread to think how it's happening over in Wales, because obviously the money is again reduced, the crowd attendances are small, and it's not been working and it's not been running well for a long time. And I think another thing I've heard, it's kind of the international side doing well, and the success over the last maybe 10 years has potentially papered over the cracks of what's happening below it. And I think the WRU have probably been riding on the wave that the international side have been doing well, and that's been keeping everyone at bay. And now the Welsh international side aren't doing well is when everything blows up, and all of a sudden it's like nothing's working well in Welsh rugby to now. But there's so much to go on with that I wouldn't even dare kind of delve into it too much. I know enough through Paul Thorburn, who was involved with the Ospreys for a long time, and how it's just the regional system for whatever reason isn't working. And what do you do? What do you do with it? And there's the rumours of the merger with Ealing and Ospreys, and you hear all of this, and it just smacks of a collapsing system that's just crumbling away, and something has to be done to try and salvage it. What that is, I wouldn't even attempt to suggest.
Yeah, no easy answers is there at the moment. The Welsh rugby really is in crisis. And
yet it beats people's livelihoods that you're talking about as well, which is another thing. Which is another thing that obviously I knew very well with Worcester, which players having families and not being able to provide any money, and that seems to be the case. And I think you're now looking at all of these Welsh boys. I think I wouldn't ever dream in saying they were being stupid, but I was saying if they weren't even thinking about moving to play in Japan or France or England now, then you'd just be thinking, why not? Why wouldn't you? Even if you haven't got the caps, at the end of the day, you've got to be worrying about where the money's coming from. And if you want the better money, you've got to go elsewhere. And I think this is just going to be some mass exodus now, and that's on the table, isn't it? Really, and you've already seen it kind of even within a week. Within a week, hearing about 10 players potentially going off. So it's dark times.
It's not just us, then, boys. It's it's a general feeling. So, but Worcester have. Let me put it this way: where are Worcester now, and what's the route back for Worcester? Is there a route back to the top for Worcester now?
Oh goodness! If Worcester are ever back in the Premiership again, I'd say it's 10 years away. If
Good grief, that long?
Well, if the proposal that's currently on the table of bringing Stourbridge RFC, who are bringing their first team over to basically be Worcester Warriors, is the proposal. They're a semi-pro side. They're currently playing in Nat 2, which is, so you've got Premiership, Championship, Nat 1, Nat 2, which is split into about 4 different divisions in terms of the geographic. Right. So they play in Nat 2 West. They're currently bottom of the league. They played 21, lost 20 games. So they're going to be relegated out of the National Leagues into Midlands 1. So they're playing regional rugby. So they're going to be at regional rugby level potentially. This is the best that there is on the table at the moment. This is the proposal. Right. So they're therefore, 1, 2, 3, potentially 4 promotions away from being back in the Premiership. So that's a minimum of 4 years out. Realistically, winning back-to-back promotions in all of that, given that the level they're going to be at, given the fact that they're not even going to be able to pay players, they're not the kind of players they're going to be able to attract, playing rugby in mud baths with 60 people watching. Realistically, you factor all of that in, and it's not just going to be comfortable, easy back-to-back promotion. That's just not how it works. So yeah, you look at the current model, and then it's not even known when Worcester get back to the Championship, which is their aim at the moment. It's not even known what kind of league that will be, because obviously there's talk about ring fencing the Premiership, reducing it to 10 teams, and then the Championship coming Premiership 2. So it could be all changed by the time they even get there. So the idea of Worcester being back in the top flight is years and years and years away. That's not going to happen anytime soon. I think that's the disappointing thing for everyone, is the fact that it's got to all this point. And that Worcester back in '97 were playing at Midlands 1, and when Cecil Duckworth got involved and pumped all, then did everything he could to get this club back to get them to a professional standard. All of that has just been wiped clean, and they're back to exactly where they started. And that's especially given the way, the finances in rugby now and everything involved. It's going to be a long, long, long way back. That's the best case scenario, because if Stourbridge vote to not do it, or the RFU get involved and say they don't want to do it, then Worcester potentially have to drop even further and do exactly what London Welsh did, which is drop all the way down to level 10, and then you're talking, will Worcester ever be back in the Premiership type thing? So yeah, it's a great situation there as well, and it's just I think everything at the moment in rugby, it's just rugby needs, especially in these, certainly not in France or anything like that, but over here in Britain, in England particularly, and Wales, that it's in big trouble really financially, and it's obviously COVID has hit hard, and it's impacted a lot of things, but it's a very difficult situation, and the light at the end of the tunnel is a long way away.
And it's a warning to us all, isn't it? It's a warning to everyone in every club that no club is too big. No club is, Wasps in particular, that thought that they were too big to be touched, and it can happen to anyone, any club. And make the most of it while it's there, isn't it? The boys get through the turnstiles on a Saturday and support them and do what you can, because you saw so many stories, not only about the players from Worcester, but the fans that are sitting there going, that's been my life for the last 6 or 7 years, is going and supporting them every year, and now it's not there.
It's devastating. Yeah. Devastating for the community, devastating for fans, players, staff. It's such a sad story. A wonderful club, a legacy built up by Cecil Duckworth, destroyed by 2 cowboys. It's tragic, it really is.
But we don't want to finish on a negative note, so just give us your prediction again for Saturday. So it was a Wales win by 5, I think you said, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm going 28-20 to Italy.
Gordon Bennett. Right. On that note, gents, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today, Marcello. It's been
thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I hope that your prediction is wrong, but I hope you have a really good rest of the season, mate. And we maybe catch up before the World Cup again, and we'll do it again.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, if there's any consolation that if both teams could win on Saturday, that's what I'd want.
A draw, then maybe a draw.
Yeah, we'll go with a draw.
If we could both get 5 points from the draw, then yeah.
Fantastic. All the best, mate. We shall see you again.
Gents.
Cheers. Ta-da. Thank you for listening to the Wrap Podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed recording it. Please do rate us and tell your friends, as it really helps us to grow and get better. We'll be back next week with more of the same, and until then, enjoy your rugby.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.